welcome back to the weekly Huddle. It's the first edition in 2024, and we're kicking off with lots of energy because we have some awesome guests today. So I'm just going to introduce them, even though they don't need an introduction. So first I have the, how should I put this, well-known figure of the gaming industry in terms of conferences and podcasts, Pierre Lindh, co-founder and managing director at Next.io. Hi, Pierre. Nice to have you here.
Yeah, good to see you, my friend. Good to be here. Excited to be part of the podcast today.
All right, and we on the other side we have Aaron Axisa, head of sales at Booming Games. Hi, Aaron. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. Hello, Pierre. Looking forward to this podcast. Let's get going.
All right, so we need to reveal that it's the first time for Aaron to be online at a live session. So
please be gentle. Please be gentle.
Just to take the stress away, all right? And I think Pierre is like maybe like 1000th edition of being online. Pierre, how is it to be on the other side?
Yeah, it feels strange, to be honest. Usually I'm in your seat asking the questions, and this time it's the other way around. So yeah, let's see how this goes. And yeah, Aaron, this we'll lean into this today. We'll have a good time, I'm sure.
I have no doubt, Pierre. In fact, when I saw you on the call, I was at ease already, having a veteran.
Good.
Okay, so as you guys know, we first comment the news that happened this week in the media of the iGaming industry, and we saw that Playmaker Capital announced the shareholder approval of its acquisition by Better Collective. Better Collective has been on a shopping spree last year, and it seems that 2024 is not going to be different for them. So the digital sports media company that delivers the authentic content experiences throughout its portfolio of sports media brands announced that holders of its common shares have voted in favor of previously announced acquisition of Playmaker by Better Collective by way of plan of arrangement under the Business Corporation Act at the company's special meeting of shareholders, which was held a couple of days ago on January 22nd. So my question to you guys is that what potential synergies do you foresee between the two companies, especially in the terms of content delivery and market expansion? So Pierre, you go first.
Right. Yeah, Sultan, I think it's a fantastic acquisition by Better Collective. Playmaker is an interesting company. We are hosting their CEO later on in New York in March, and we've hosted them in the past as well. They've done really well. The interesting part is that it's not necessarily like the biggest revenue driving organization today. I think they did something like $7-8 million EBITDA result in 2022. And I think the acquisition was like 120, 130.
176 that I saw.
It's in the high 100, right? And what they do have is an incredible reach, right? So Playmaker, their business plan is essentially they create an enormous amount of engaging content. They are a content creating machine, as they call themselves. But they produce their own in-house content, and they also have their own talent agency. So they work with sport professionals like Shaquille O'Neal, for example, that is hosting a podcast under Playmaker. And they have a combined following base between their own organic content and through their partnerships of like 45 million followers or something like that, most of them being US based. And so for Better Collective, which obviously are pushing full force into the North American market, this is a highly interesting and a highly relevant acquisition because they get a lot of organic eyeballs through this content, which obviously they can funnel into the affiliation side of their business. So this is where the acquisition makes a lot of sense, where Playmaker is generating a lot of organic content. Google loves organic, good, genuine content that can then be utilized for the various affiliation activities that Better Collective are pursuing. So they are just strengthening their position in North American market. If they didn't own the affiliation space before in the US, they certainly do it now.
All right, Aaron, anything to add to this?
Pretty much what Pierre said, when it's all organically, it's a match made in heaven. They've got their own content, as we know, and what not to do but expand and try reach as much as you can.
All right. So my second question about this news, because in the industry has started as an affiliate in 2008, and I've seen a lot of things happen in the affiliate sphere. So do you guys consider that this approval of acquisition, how might this consolidation within the digital sports media landscape influence the competition and innovation in this sector? So Pierre, once again, you go first.
Yeah, I mean, the affiliation sector in general has been consolidating for a number of years. I remember when I moved to Malta in 2011, I moved to Malta. And so I used to work for Betsson at that time. And within the operator Betsson, we always used to say, damn it, like we should have become affiliates instead of affiliate managers. But now it's too late, we were saying in 2011, because the feeling at that time was that the affiliation space had already consolidated. But this was even before the birth of Catena Media, right? Who then further consolidated the space
exactly.
and took in a lot of the smaller affiliates into their sphere. So these days we obviously are seeing much bigger, much more professional affiliation organizations. And especially from a North American perspective, it seems like it's becoming really difficult to compete unless you have the muscles that, say, Better Collective, Catena Media, Gambling.com Group, Excel Media, those guys have enormous muscles in order to, continuously invest and see those return on profits. I have heard at least that many of the smaller affiliates that have been trying to establish themselves in the US haven't been successful for that very reason, that they just haven't got the kind of muscle, the economic muscle that the bigger ones have. So my expectation is that this again is a move that makes the bigger and the bigger becoming stronger, and it's becoming more and more difficult to compete as a kind of medium or low tier affiliate in the North American space.
Yeah, it's crazy. Aaron?
Yeah, as they say, affiliate is king. Some of those things that, as you said, Pierre, initially everyone should have taken the bullet and started affiliation initial stages, because it's amazing, it's
Lifetime regrets, I can tell you.
It is in a way, and everyone talks about them, they do an excellent job, they know what they're doing. But like you said, especially in North America, it's survival of the fittest. Any smaller affiliation trying to enter such jurisdictions, unfortunately, if they don't have the backing and the willpower, they will not succeed. Hence why such collaborations with bigger companies such as Catena Media and whatnot, they succeed, and they're the drivers within the affiliation space.
All right, so this makes me very depressed, because I sold my affiliate business in 2015 to get into the B2B news sector and conferences. So yeah, the
So
good old days.
You kick
Good
yourself
timing,
now.
All right,
It's never too late. It's never too late, Zoltan.
Yeah, it's never too late. Might go back. I know a few tricks from the old days. So in other news, going to North America, FanDuel announced a third 1 million donation for the United Negro College Fund, whose mission is to build a robust and nationally recognized pipeline of underrepresented students who, because of the UNCF support, become a highly qualified college graduate. So my question for you both is, what impact do you think such consistent philanthropic efforts by the major online gambling companies will have on the broader community and the industry's public image? Let's say North America. Pierre.
All right, thank you. So I think it's a really big, we have to distinguish a bit the European industry from the North American industry again, because, we host events both in Europe and in North America, and the sentiment towards the industry is like night and day. In Europe, we are still very much seen as an industry that is a bit frowned upon, and from philanthropic point of view as well. a lot of the NGOs refuse to take money from gambling companies for that reason. They feel it's unethical. Whereas in the US, they have been able to position the industry as a much more accepted industry, especially on the sports betting side of things. So it's not a surprise to me in general that there are more philanthropic the actions happening in the US from the North American operators over there. And obviously more than just trying to like whitewash brands, I think it's more important that these type of donations happens from a genuine point of view, that they actually want to do good rather than whitewashing their brand. That's always where these type of donations should come from, and I would hope that that's the ambition of FanDuel as well. I know a lot of people over there, and they are genuinely great people, and they genuinely want to do good. So I'm sure that it comes from a right place. But obviously, if we are to look at it from a industry perspective, the more good we can do as an industry, the more we can influence the industry in a positive way, the better it is for all of us, right?
Exactly.
In fact, exactly what Pierre said. I mean, we should take FanDuel's example and follow it, as much as we can. We need to have more of a greater opportunity to give back, and showcase that the gaming industry has the ability to do good also, and to donate such massive sums to such organizations.
All right, but this happened in Ohio, so which raises a question about what Pierre said about whitewashing the brand, that this donation came just as Ohio has been celebrating the 1-year anniversary of mobile sports betting in the States. So how do you perceive this relationship between CSR initiatives and strategic business milestones? Pierre, once again, you go.
Yeah, I don't know if I see the red thread that you do there. Like, there's always going to be it's always going to coincide with something, right? Whether it is the 4th of July or the 1-year sports betting anniversary of the state where the donation is coming from. This is always going to be something it coincides with. So to be honest with you, you mentioned as well in the beginning, Sultan, that this is the 3rd donation that is done to this institution. So I would question back if the other 2 happened in equally similar timings. It doesn't seem to me that it would be coinciding with that particular like 1-year anniversary. To be honest with you, there's always going to be something. It's like when you know as well from doing events, like there's never a perfect date, right?
Exactly.
There's always something in any date you put the event on.
Yeah, it's crazy. So I think that you're not just saying that because they're attending your conference in New York later. All right.
Oh, no, of course.
Yeah, no.
What do you think?
What Pierre said, I totally agree with him. To be quite honest, I'm not following it as much as I should be, let's put it that way. So my 2 pence probably won't mean anything. So I just stick to what Pierre is saying and agree with him on this.
All right. So next up is a crazy
bad life choice, Aaron. Sorry.
I trust your judgment. I trust your judgment, Pierre. Any day, anytime, no problem.
All right. So the next crazy news is like we always have in this gaming series that we do on the HIPTHER'S Huddle, about Australia, where every time we cover some news, there's something crazy happening. And this time, a licensee of Sydney's Central Business District is prosecuted for having an ATM in the same part of the hotel as the gaming machine. So in my opinion, it's very crazy. And all the news we had about Australia and the amounts that are paid and issued by the local court are very, very mysterious. So this time, the licensed venues are being warned to comply with important gaming harm minimization measures, or they are facing enforcement action. So after this licensee of an inner Sydney venue was found guilty under the Gaming Machines Regulation 2019, after placing an automatic teller machine, an ATM, in the ATM room attached to its gaming room. So this is So guys, how do you think this specific case and penalty imposed might influence the policies and practices of other gaming venues in Australia, especially in the terms of adhering the gaming harm minimization measures? I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to influence it, but what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I can't say exactly that neither me nor Aaron, I am assuming, are experts in Australian gaming law, perhaps, but what I would say, just to chime in with something, is Australia is a very particular market in the sense that this is the this is the biggest market per player in player estimated player value, right? So the individual Australian gambler is the highest grossing player in the world, basically more so than North Americans even. It's a very peculiar market, and the fact that an ATM is not allowed in the gaming room seems a bit particular. Obviously, you as a player, you want the ease of being able to withdraw money, but I understand from a safer gambling point of view why you at least want the ATM to be, say, a couple of minutes walking distance from the blackjack table, so that you can maybe think twice if this is a good idea or not. Right, so maybe that is behind the court case here. So I don't know if this particular court case has any impact on the wider regulation in Australia, but it just seems to be reasonable thing to leave a couple of minutes between the blackjack table and the ATM in order to get players to just think twice. Yeah.
To recap your thoughts, the thing is that ironically, again, granted, you've got the ATM, it's in the actual casino, it's useful being there to a certain extent. However, if it's not in the casino, it can be, as you said, Pierre, a few minutes away. So if a player wants to gamble, they're going to go out, go back, and gamble once again. Granted that there might be that episode of those 1 to 2 minutes, they can gather their thoughts once again and say, no, I should not go back in. However, the majority of the time, you will definitely go back in. Exactly. That's the thing. So some of those things where, okay, it's a fine, they're trying to impose a new rule and regulation, but it's pointless to a certain extent, in my opinion.
So Australian regulator, if you are listening, this is dumb. All right.
Exactly. Take note.
So if you take a look at the LinkedIn or Facebook stream in January, all you see is announcements of new CEOs and announcements of new CTOs, etc. Also, you see the I am attending ICE banners and stuff like that. But this week, I think it topped the announcements that FDJ launched a recommended all-cash tender offer to Kindred to create the European gaming champion. And in order to implement its ambition to become the international gaming operator, FDJ is announcing the filing of an all-cash tender offer to acquire the entire share capital of Kindred, a company listed on Nasdaq Stockholm. This offer is unanimously recommended by the Kindred's board of directors. I think this is going to be major, guys. So how do you think this acquisition will shape the future of the European gaming market, especially in the terms of market competitiveness and consumer offerings?
It's nice to see that, to have some European action, as normally acquisitions are mainly North Americans buying European brands. This time it's a French company that's actually buying, or has bought, you could say now, Kindred. And it's a very smart move. Kindred, as we know, they have multiple jurisdictions. They're amazingly solid. So it makes sense for someone within Europe to buy such a brand, such an entity, an organization, to expand its reach as much as it can within, especially Europe, So my opinion, it's a very good deed for both parties, and it's exciting to see what there is in store for these guys going forward.
Pierre, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I have some concerns with this M&A actually, and I think my biggest concern is the fact that just a month and a half ago, this court case came from Sweden, where one VIP player of Betsson Group who had lost a significant amount of money in the beginning of the 2010s, actually was awarded part of those losses back. And potentially this opens up the floodgates for an enormous amount. I mean, we're talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe, players to take the traditional Swedish operators to court to claim their losses back. In this particular court case, it was a VIP player who had, I haven't read in like super deep into the court case, but what it was the player had basically made it clear that he has a gambling problem, but he was still tagged as a VIP player, and he was still enticed to continue to play, and he was offered several bonuses. Now, in the early 2010s, I wouldn't be surprised if this was pretty common practice by some operators, and certainly with the volumes that we're talking about, there will be potentially a lot of edge cases here where a lot of players would claim that they have problem with gambling, and they still were allowed to lose money, and then we'll be able to take the operators to court. And the operators, if they get flooded with various court cases, they won't have the resources to take on all these court cases. So you will probably see a lot of settlements being done behind closed doors, right? And so the question is, like, does this open up to a massive amount of litigation towards Kindred and Betsson, of course, and other Swedish operators? We still have the Supreme Court to decide the final decision here. This court case was in the second instance in the Swedish court system. In the first instance, Betsson won. In the second instance, the player won, and now yesterday Betsson appealed to the Supreme Court. So in the next couple of months, when this court case is decided, it's going to determine a lot when it comes to the future of the traditional Swedish operators up there. So I would be really mindful of the risk profile of Kindred right now, because we are talking about tens, if not hundreds of millions of euro in potential potential litigation that they will have to repay to these old VIP players. That could, I mean, I don't want to be like too dramatic here, but this could have pretty severe consequences to many of the major operators, and definitely something to keep an eye on. So the timing is actually quite interesting from on this acquisition, and on top of that, like Kindred is a household brand. They've been grinding on for many years. Their strongest markets are also the most challenging markets. It's the most highly regulated markets. They haven't been able to diversify to Latin America, for example. North America was a failure for Kindred. They recently announced that they are pulling out, and they are deriving most of their revenue from UK and Scandinavia and Western Europe. These are difficult markets. Norway, of course, is an important market for Kindred. Question mark what's going to happen there. And the multiple was still quite high on this acquisition. They still got like a 25-30% premium on the share price or something like that. 15 times multiple, I think, on EBITDA. So it's a pretty high valuation they managed to get, considering all the uncertainty and the risk that is within the company at the moment. So I would keep a close eye on this, to be honest.
It's going to be an exciting year. All right, so we move on to part 2 of the show. As we announced, we are going to talk about the Hunger Games, about the events calendar in part 1 of the year, which is very stuffy again. I know Pierre has moved one of his conferences. We have moved one of the conferences because of date clashes with other event organizers. So it's a pretty crazy year. But let's start off then with Pierre, because you are the knowledgeable guy about conference organizing right now on the show. So in your role, what are the key factors you consider to ensure a gaming conference like yours, for instance, like Next IO, is both engaging and valuable for its participants, especially in this first semester?
Yeah, it's and you're absolutely right, Sultan. Like the calendar is a bit of a mess. So our New York event is falling on the same dates as FBC's Rio event. Trying to avoid that was it possible. Same with the Malta event. And SBC Malta unfortunately launched the same dates as ours. So we decided to move that one to try to cater to the industry to make it easier and so on. So yeah, it's not easy scheduling these events, that's for sure. But when it comes to like creating value, I think like this, Sultan, and please tell me your feedback as well. But there are so many shows in the calendar today that you can't get away with being just a generic show anymore. It has to be something specific to that show. The industry is becoming much more localized, so we see obviously a lot more shows that are focusing on specific markets. In our case, we try to not use the standard format, which is this exhibition format that many others conduct. We feel it's a bit gray and stiff, and we want our conferences then to be fun and lighthearted, because we think that type of environment is where the most business is done at the end of the day. And so that's how we built both our New York and our Valletta show. It is a concept that is built upon maximizing connection building, and by extension maximizing business being made. And we do that as well by infusion of really good and solid content, because we think a good, enjoyable conference experience, you don't want to stand around and mingle all day long. Sometimes it's nice to sit down and watch a couple of panels and learn some interesting things about the future of the industry as well. So that's always the principle that we keep in mind when we host any event, is like, how do we make them the most valuable possible for the attendees? And the number one thing that we get in any feedback is always that the delegates prioritize making business and getting to know new people. So that's always the first number one principle in how any show should be conducted.
All right. Aaron, my question to you as a leading figure in booming games, how do you prepare to leverage iGaming industry conferences to maximize business development and sales opportunities? I recorded a podcast this week with somebody from Endorphina who said that personally you need to have a dedicated health to prioritize your health at conferences, not to die at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's. I mean, who's not in sales and commercial, think, oh yeah, because we're always going out and partying and you need to have all this energy, and yeah, energy is needed. We need to be healthy. Especially like you guys mentioned in the beginning of this question to Pierre, the calendar has become ever so large. It's quite hectic to keep up with each and every conference, and the things that each and every conference has become of value, and we do not want to miss any conference going forward. Sticking to what Pierre said also regarding iGaming Next and Valletta, it's spot on. It's a type of conference to me, my eyes. It's a meet and greet, and you're going to find the quality people there. It's not like the other shows that they're massive fairs. You find the extravagant booths, stands, noisy and whatnot. It's an elegant conference where you're going to meet the right people. You're going to sit down and listen to really inspirational, educational talks on the panel. And venue-wise is amazing. It's a one that I'm looking forward to. In fact, we are even exhibiting this year at iGaming Next Valletta. It's something that we've never done before. It's something that, we're trying our best now to have more of a presence in general. But going back to your question, Zoltan, the first thing I do literally is to fire up that iGaming calendar of events, and I go through them one by one, and build myself a case. A business case to see whether it's feasible or not. Obviously, there are cases where, depending on the licenses we have, the certification of games, and we work accordingly. To my advantage, nowadays, I'm not a one-man show in terms of being the only sales manager in booming games. We've expanded our team to 4. additional headcounts in sales, which are targeting various jurisdictions and that are based out of Malta, which is even better. So strategically, we're more focused now, to really play our cards right, attend the right conferences with the right people.
All right.
If anyone needs a hype man, call Aaron. Thank you for that, Aaron. You're a fantastic hype man, my friend.
Yeah, make sure to send him his fee for doing this commercial. All right.
Honesty, all honesty.
Business is booming, conference calendar is booming, it's very crazy, and even the backstory of the end of the first semester, like you said, Pierre, with moving the dates for Valletta, you moved it to the dates when we were hosting Tallinn, Mare Balticum, so we moved it to June. So it's like that. We need to somehow be conscious about this stuff and be grown-ups actually when setting these dates. And most importantly, it needs to be a good friendship between the event organizers, like Tyrion Lannister said, you make peace with your enemies, not with your friends.
No, true. I mean, the pie is big enough for everyone, We just have to be civil, and find a way to make it work for everyone. But there are opportunities. We don't have to step on each other's toes, It's a small industry, and we should pull the same rope,
All right.
Yeah, 100%.
So, a question to you both: how do you both see the integration of emerging technologies being showcased at gaming industry conferences this year, and what impact does it have on the industry as a whole? I just want to mention that we started doing this 2 years ago, hosting separate tech conferences dedicated not for the gaming industry, and last year we started putting them together. And I can say as a feedback that it was really good, because blockchain people, AI people, fintech people are also interested in entering the gaming industry, and we need them. So what's your opinion?
Yeah, for me, it's 100% Sultan. I think it's super smart what you're doing. And it goes to show as well that you're thinking further than just the standard, let's talk about Germany tax regulation and
we still do that.
But you're thinking further than that, which is great. Again, and in our case, we try to do something similar. So we are putting together a partnership now with TechMT in Malta, which is kind of like they have the kind of overall view on the tech, AI, and blockchain industries here in Malta. So we invite them actively to the show. We invite them to showcase demos, and we also are hosting an emerging technology track at the conference in Malta as well to kind of get the outside voices that have something interesting to share, because oftentimes we are a bit speaking in a bubble in the industry. It's like industry people talking to industry people, and that kind of isolates us a little bit sometimes, and it can be quite difficult actually to book speakers from outside of the industry because they feel a little bit iffy about the industry. We've come across this many times when we try to book keynote speakers. I have a funny story on that front actually. One time we wanted to book a famous physicist, a Swedish physicist, to do a podcast with us, and we jumped on a prep call, and the first thing he said is, when I was a kid, I was playing the Commodore 64, and that was my first gaming experience. And I moved on to Nintendo, and I have so many good memories from when I was a kid playing games, and we are like, just so you know, like iGaming is gambling. Just so you're aware of that. But it's like gambling. Oh, iGaming gambling, and so he had a signed contract, and he canceled the contract. He didn't want to do the podcast, So like we come across that a lot, So the fact that we have the opportunity to bring on board speakers from outside the industry to talk to us is really valuable, because we need those perspectives of the industry for sure. Super important, really, really important, because it's iGaming people are more interested in not only iGaming, and not only emerging technologies for that matter too,
Exactly.
What about like personal growth, personal development, these type of things, Like just because you work in iGaming doesn't mean that you're only interested in iGaming. Like there's so much more things to learn from.
Definitely. I mean, the spectrum is much wider than that. It's not only iGaming, like you said, Pierre. I mean, with AI especially, it's something that I would like to see more of, especially for B2B suppliers such as ourselves, how we can incorporate AI in our technologies, in our infrastructure. I know several operators B2C operators have been using AI for quite a while in terms of chatbots, for example, the detection of fraud and risk, player behavior. So something that definitely should be more pushed and introduced within our industry. So it's something that I'm definitely looking forward to in the upcoming conferences. To sit down, listen to key speakers. Discussing AI and the abilities it can have for suppliers such as ourselves and the industry altogether.
Yeah, Pierre, I just wish you the joy we had last year at the conferences when AI experts were talking to gaming experts and sharing knowledge together at networking. Those were the talks, man. So
yeah,
just to also give a teaser about our Prague conference, we are bringing back a cyborg. We are collaborating with the Trans PC Society to bring a cyborg to the conference for a fireside chat, which is awesome. Just to
Amazing.
Go outside the sphere. So here again, you as the conference organizer on the call. So how do you see the role of gaming conferences in fostering international collaborations and partnerships within the industry?
I mean, it's essential. I think if there's anything COVID taught us is that yes, the kind of new way of doing Zoom call and conducting Zoom calls to do business is great. It opens up a lot more discussions. But at the end of the day, the relationships are fostered in real life, right? During COVID, a lot of discussions were had, is the conference landscape dead now with the working from home and the kind of Zoom call revolution? And we didn't know ourselves, what was going to happen. Are people going to return to the conferences, or is conducting business via Zoom call now a standard? And the truth is that we just started to conduct more business than before. The industry became more localized. The industry grew a lot more because we now have both of those options there rather than one, right? So that just speeds up the ability and it removes friction to do business. So when it comes to international collaboration, at the end of the day, especially when we do business across cultures, that is when it becomes even more important to forge those relationships in real life. Because it is one thing to jump on a Zoom call with someone from a different culture and talk formal business, but it's another thing to gain the trust with someone, during a show or at the after party or whatever it may be. That's where you really get to know someone, and business are done via relationships. Relationships are important because we want to build trust, and trust is built via the conferences, and trust between international collaborations is even more important to be done via in-person events.
All right. So Aaron, before I ask you the next question, so how does it feel now to be online and after about almost 40 minutes in your first ever online session?
I feel more at ease now,
All right.
You guys are exceptional. It's free flowing, it's going well. So actually looking forward to the next one.
Ah, that's good. So just want to ask you about this, about what we talked about earlier in the context of emerging technologies being discussed at conferences. So how does Booming Games plan to integrate these innovations into its business strategy and stay ahead in the competitive iGaming market?
Yeah, I mean, some of these things that as a topic, it is being raised and discussed internally. What's the future? How is it looking like for Booming Games in terms of AI and such technologies? As you know, there was always algorithm popping up, with B2C casinos, a selection of games and whatnot. So AI was slowly creeping up on us, but now it's reached a different level. It's a different ball game now of a tool that can be so useful, even for us as a B2B supplier, to understand player needs, what type of promotions they like, what type of teams, what type of features they like. So even data, for example, we can also use AI to extract, precise data of when we launch a game, and when it starts to tail off, we try understand the gaps. So it's something that we will definitely have to implement. And I say have because it's going to become something standard in the future, in the very near future, I would say. So for us, it's definitely on the table that we must implement AI technology to better understand our content when it's delivered. Players are actually spinning on our games, understanding their behavior, what they are after, and hopefully the end result would be definitely to then release specific games for specific audiences, for example. So it's something that, yeah, like I said, is definitely something on the table, and that should be implemented in the very near future for booming games.
All right. So given the thought that Pierre raised the cultural differences and stuff like that, I have to tell you a story from Milan, where we hosted the European Gaming Congress in 2019. We had the South Korean gaming regulator attending the conference, and one of the speakers was in the panel was joking about Asia and how short people are there and stuff like that. And yeah, it was a very strange moment, given the fact that, yeah, I just want to point out that even though if you're hosting conferences localized in Europe, there we still have a global attendance at all our conferences. So given this nature of global, given the global nature of the gaming industry, how important do you guys feel cultural diversity and representation are at these international events?
Yeah, from our side, we take diversification really serious. If there's also something we learned from the last couple of years is that, we as organizers, we have a pretty big responsibility when it comes to diversifying conferences and diversifying the industry. And at the end of the day, we are building a platform from which people can grow from. And so if there are underrepresented groups, we have an opportunity to lift those underrepresented groups through our events and make sure that we highlight them the best that we can, right? So we have a responsibility there, I believe, to make sure that we can do the best we can for underrepresented groups and just diversifying the perspectives in general, right? Because if we only bring kind of one perspective from let's say that we talk about Latin America and we only have Europeans on the panel, there's a perspective that is missing there, even though the panelists might be experts. So it's really important for us to always think about diversification of the event and to always make sure that we have a really diverse and a broad speaker lineup. So in our case, we try to remind ourselves of that as much as we can. We try to work with quotas internally as well to make sure that the agendas are always as diverse as possible. It's always a mix there because you want the top experts in any given field, regardless where they are from. But you also want to make sure to bring more perspectives into the mix as well. And that balancing act can be quite difficult sometimes, actually. And in our busy day-to-day lives, it's easy to, when you book speakers, to kind of like go for the low-hanging fruits and to book the same speakers every time and so on. And that's why it's important to, for us at least, to work with quotas and to make sure that we make sure to put in the effort that is needed to make the conferences more diverse as a whole.
All right. So Aaron, how do you guys approach?
Yeah, for us, obviously, it's a different perspective because we're on the B2B side of the equation. However, what we've done recently is that, again, we want to diversify as much as we can, and the best option to do so is to have actual individuals who are based in certain jurisdictions, certain parts of the world that can relate, can understand what, for example, an audience player base in Asia's after Southeast Asia, for example. In Latam, we have someone based in Latam. We have someone based in even Africa now. So we've got these individuals who are experts within the commercial and B2B side of the business. They know a thing or two of what's happening within their continents, you could say. And this enables us to, first of all, expand. And it shows also operators that we mean business, meaning that, look, well, Boomer Games have someone based in Malta taking care of European brands, someone based in Africa handling all the African business. So individuals can relate, you know, someone from Africa speaking to a representative from Booming Games who is African also, they can speak the lingo, you know. Same for Latam, same for Southeast Asia, same for me in Europe. So we saw this, I mean, this all came over the past year, I would say, where we really just started expanding, you know, said, listen, we have to do this properly, this strategically, and find the right people in the right corners of the world to really attend specific conferences, for example, you know, to even attend panels, maybe be speakers themselves, you know, and get the traction with these people who are out of my reach in Malta, you could say.
All right. So Pierre, back to you again. So what unique challenges do you face when organizing the gaming conferences in the different international locations? And how do you tailor these events to local and global audiences?
Yeah, it's a good question, Sultan. So we have our two shows in Europe and in North America. And it is like night and day. You know, it's completely two different shows organized in two different ways. And also two different cultures for that matter. You don't think that much about like the European culture and North American culture being that different, but the professional kind of culture is really different actually between the two industries. So like in North America, the industry is much more relationship based. Like, who do you know? And like people are looking at your resume, who you are, and who do you know to establish if you are someone they want to conduct business with. That is what we feel, at least when we do business with Americans. Whereas in Europe, they look much more at the product rather than who they are conducting business with. So what that means is in North America, you have a lot stronger networks. And if you can tap into those networks, it's actually becomes a lot easier to make sure that the conference is well attended. So in our case, we are really lucky because we have some of the most influential and well-respected individuals of the industry are great supporters of the show in New York, and it's actually thanks to them more than it's thanks to us that people actually show up at the conference. So the likes of Chris Grove, Benji Cherniak, Lloyd Danzig, and Bill Pasquarel III, and I'm missing a lot of names here, so I'm just not going to mention more people, but a lot of these individuals are actively helping us to build that show, and that is what creates the success. Like, we would have not been able to do that on our own, considering how kind of relationship and network based the North American market is. Whereas over here in Europe, it is very different in how we put that show together, because it's much more about the marketing campaign. It's much more about being visible at all times. It's much more about like active individual outreach to people to let them know why, like, that the event exists and why they should attend. And they will take that decision based on, you know, do they think they will be able to do business at the show? What's the value? What's the cost? And so on. And they'll take a decision based on that. And then when it comes to cost, you know, it is, I actually stopped looking at the invoices now from North America, because it just makes me depressed every time something comes through. And I'm like, how is this possible? Like, how can it cost this much? It's just,
it's a different world.
How can a photographer charge as much as a lawyer? Like, to me, I just don't understand it, you know. So I've come to the point now in my 7 stages of denial where I've just accepted the fact that it is the way it is. It's just incredibly expensive to organize events over in the US. But we have to do the best we can there. Whereas in Europe, you know, especially here in Malta, where we've been residing for the last 12 years, we know all the contacts. We have all the right contacts here. And that makes it a lot easier to organize the show from a financial perspective as well. We can work with the best suppliers at the best rates, and they are reasonable, and they are aware of that there is a competitive landscape, and therefore they need to do the best they can to work with us. So yeah, the challenges are widely different between European and a North American show. It is, even if the shows look similar, they are completely and utterly different from each other. There's not that much synergies between them. And completely different audiences as well, of course, completely different price pictures, completely different everything. Yeah, it's very complex as an organizer to reconcile this, because what we want is to organize shows that have a lot of red threads that are kind of like copy paste of each other. It becomes a lot easier to scale a business like that. And what's holding us back often with these things is that, yeah, it's just really difficult to harmonize the shows when they are so different from each other as they are.
All right. I'm wishing you all the luck with the event in North America. This is the third year, right?
The third year.
Yeah, and it keeps growing. So maybe in 5 or 10 years, you will be saying things differently. Any plans to expand to Latin America as well?
Yeah, so I can give you guys an exclusive here. First time we mentioned it actually, but yeah, it's not that big news, to be honest. But we have been thinking that there are so many exhibitions in the industry now that the industry doesn't necessarily, they aren't really asking for more exhibitions. Let's say, we can force an exhibition in there, but we don't think that's what the industry wants. So instead, we are doing a full 180 and looking the other way instead, and thinking, what if we organize kind of like elite retreat style events for just 100 people, 50 operators, 50 suppliers in the most luxurious resort that we can find, and we put them there for 2 days of like high level connection building, a lot of entertainment, and at the end of the day, by extension of becoming friends, we are hoping that a lot of business is being done. So that's a new concept that we are launching called the Elite Retreat. So we are doing 2 of them in 2024. We will do Cyprus in October. That's for emerging market operators, so Curacao and crypto operators together with suppliers. And in November, we are hosting the second one in Tulum in Mexico. That will be for the Latin American, not specifically for Mexico, but for Latin American leading operators, basically. And this is done. We have the rule set. What's it called again? Now I forget. There's like a behind the doors closed rule set that you can use at these type of events, where basically no media is allowed.
Yeah,
it's called
exactly.
the Chatham House Rules. It's called. So in Chatham House Rules, basically, when a conference is organized under Chatham House Rules, participants are free to use the information they receive through the panels and the discussions and so on, but neither the identity or the affiliation of the speakers nor that of any other participant can be revealed. Right? So we will write NDAs with all the participants that they are not allowed to disclose anything that was discussed during the events, basically, to keep them more open and genuine, those events. So we are taking full 180 degree the other way around. Instead of doing big exhibitions, we will do these more smaller, valuable, really high level events that are organized in like the most luxurious resorts in the world, basically.
Good luck with that, and make sure to set the dates in a way that others will not set the date and do something.
At least it's just 100 people. So yeah,
I can see this happening in 2025, where other event organizers pick up this format. So yeah, we're in this business before too long. So Aaron, one question for you about what strategies do you guys employ to foster partnerships and expanding your global presence?
Yeah, I mean, of course, besides all the conferences and having a presence, we do our homework from beforehand. We are now focusing more on geos, to be very honest with you guys. We've got more specific games for specific geos. I'm not sure if you guys have heard, but we recently collaborated with a living legend of a superstar, Ronaldinho. We are basically building a game series around his name, primarily to have a massive impact with the Brazilians, Latam, and of course even Europe. But obviously we're trying to enter Brazil with a bang. We want the audience to incorporate booming games with Ronaldinho, like, Play and Go and Book of Dead and whatnot. So hopefully this is going to be our time. These are the strategies we're taking now. We're really focusing on what the players want, what operators want, and we're trying to touch, individuals in their hearts. With someone like Ronaldinho, for example, this collaboration, it should open ample of doors for us within the Brazilian community, especially. So these are the type of strategies we're taking. We're going to have something similar for Africa also, Southeast Asia. So we're really focusing on really not just exhibiting, but providing something for that particular jurisdiction, and that's how it's become. It's not only about leaderboards and tools and this or that. You have to really now expand. And again, we're not reinventing the wheel here, but we're trying to do something that will, really have an impact on certain markets. And this is the way forward for us.
All right. So my final question to Pierre. Looking ahead, what are your predictions or hopes for the future of the gaming industry, especially the conference part, in terms of innovation, attendee engagement, industry growth, maybe even figuring out the calendar?
Yeah, I was going to say that exactly. Syncing the dates. I think that's my hope for the future, that we can all collaborate and make sure that we avoid clashes and stuff like that. No, I think there's, as Aaron pointed out earlier, there's room for everyone. The industry is becoming more localized, and so we'll see more shows becoming more localized as well. Whereas previously, all the shows have been global and European-based. Now we see all the shows becoming much more localized all across the world. I would hope that the organizers try to promote the shows in an ethical way as well, and recognizes that we have a lot of responsibility as media and conference platforms. We are very visible, and we are very much part of the kind of creating and amplifying certain trends. And we've seen kind of backlash from conferences in the past where the shows haven't exactly been organized in an ethical way often, and there's some like news articles resulting from that from former ICE conferences and so on. And so I'm hoping that we will all take our responsibility and do what is best for the industry.
All right, let's all be friends.
Exactly.
Let's all be friends.
All right.
One big hug.
Kumbaya.
So,
Kumbaya.
lastly, what are your insights or expectations for the evolution of the iGaming industry conferences, in particular in terms of new opportunities for business growth and networking for companies like Booming Games? I know that you are attending iGaming next in Valletta. Sorry, next IO.
Next IO. No, I mean, we were always present at every show, you could say. However, we always took a conservative approach. It was always ICE that was the big deal breaker for us. It's always ICE. We always focus on ICE, invest all our marketing budget on ICE. However, nowadays we've become more open and we're more adventurous, and although we're established as a company, we still believe that we should be present harder and stronger than ever in every expo if possible. Hence why next we're going to be exhibiting in Valletta. We're going to be exhibiting also in Sao Paulo and Rio, obviously ICE. So for us, we're coming out with more of a bang. We want to make more noise. Although we're established, but yes, we want to show our operators, our partners, our prospects, that this is who we are, and we're here to stay, and we will be visible in the vast majority of conferences going forward. In terms of what I'm looking forward to from these expos, obviously always bringing new business, making relationships, expanding my network, as Pierre said initially, and also Yuzota. I mean, it's so important to have these face-to-face. I believe in that so much. A conversation can make a partnership. That's how simple it is. We've got this R10 Ronaldinho game series coming up, so we're gonna have more ammunition, to boast about, and yeah, just be present everywhere and have a successful year.
All right. So on this show, you are allowed to talk about also other events like Sigma or SBC if you're attending.
Of course, we are indeed.
Right.
No problem. It's only next. Don't worry. It's not next IO. It's Sigma. In fact, no.
Don't worry, I'm closing my eyes now.
Exactly.
Exactly.
That's
no,
it.
he's going to send your price increase for your stand in Malta.
There you go.
I think the opposite. I think Aaron deserved a nice discount for next year. So that's down to
My C-level will be happy. No, joking apart. Joking apart.
Pierre, how did I do?
I think you did absolutely brilliant, Sultan. You've done this many times before. Our friend, this is fantastic. Always great to come aboard with a fellow organizer as well.
All right, so thank you guys for your time, and then thank you for our audience for joining us. Make sure to subscribe. You will, for those who could not make it, you will get the recording afterwards, and yeah, let's have an awesome year. It's January. We'll blink two times and it's already December again. So make it work.
Indeed. Yep. Make it worth it.
So the summary of this podcast is basically peace on earth, peace between our conference organizers, and kumbaya, my friends. Let's all work together.
Exactly. Peace, love, conferences. Exactly.
Like, again, I will mention, like Tyrion Lannister said, make peace with your enemies, not with your friends.
I wouldn't call you an enemy, my friend. I think
we're not. Take good care, everyone. Right. Thank you for joining. Have an awesome
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.